Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Pyramid Sports Network FC. Today, we're going to go over some World Cup preview, but I am joined by none other than the Baltimore Bomber, the Atlanta Assassin,
Mm,
Mr. Kofi Whitehead. Kofi, how are
yeah,
you?
good. Excited, man. I'm happy to be here. Biggest summer of our lives, honestly. Right now, being able to be here, living in Atlanta, big city, hosting the World Cup, hosting some games. So it's exciting. It's gonna be a big time.
Yeah, so with the World Cup, we're fresh
Hmm.
off the heels of another U.S. men's national team friendly this afternoon. They lost to Germany 2-1.
Hmm.
Um, Germany started the scoring. Kai Havertz scores a header off set piece
Hmm.
within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Um, the U.S. leveled it on one of the best strikes I've seen from a U.S. player by Anthony Robinson before halftime.
it may be top seven, top 10 goals all time in U.S. history. It was insane.
It was insane. I mean, hitting it off of a full volley
Yeah.
and just nicking the bar. And it was that there are very few goals I can remember, like you're saying, that it probably is like
Hmm.
comfortably in the top 10
Hmm.
at least.
Hmm.
Um, because I don't remember that many US goals that were like smashed in like that.
I feel like a lot of U.S. goals I've seen in the past are pretty simple ones or like off of set pieces. Today was insane. It was magical. It's definitely on my top 10, especially for US men team.
100%, yeah. So then,
Yeah.
yeah, after halftime,
Hmm.
in the 50 something minute, can't remember exactly, but Leroy Sané scores,
Hmm.
goes up 2-1. There were some fireworks at the end of the match, and I think it's exactly what Mauricio Pochettino would have wanted to see. He had challenged the
Hmm.
team to be more aggressive and not being afraid to get stuck in and playing with some heart, even if it's just a friendly. And you saw that with a guy that we've had some very strong comments about after seeing him play against Belgium in March, but it was a tough assignment. But Timothy Weah at the end of the match kind of he got stuck in and a really strong hard tackle, a clean
Hmm.
tackle, but
Hmm.
studs came up a little bit, and obviously the Germans didn't take too kindly to that in the 87th minute of a friendly. But I think that's exactly what we need to see out of the
Yeah.
players on the United States.
Well, that's the thing too, is I think the US team has a chip on their shoulder, being a host country, hearing kind of that the negativity surrounding the US team not really being passionate, them not being prepared. I think today was a really good step in the right direction. They're kind of peaking at the right time. I think Pulis looks a lot better. I think although it was a loss, it showed us a lot today. So I'm excited. I think the USA is going to be a lot better than a lot of people think they're going to be, and they're going to put on a show, especially as a host country. Being in America, they're going to wow a lot of people this
And
summer.
I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said they're going to put on a show because I feel like some of what we've seen over these last two friendlies, Christian Pulisic hadn't scored a
Hmm.
goal for the United States since
Hmm.
2024. He hadn't scored a club goal since 2025.
Hmm.
Scoreless this whole year for AC Milan. And to come out and bag a goal and an assist in the first half against
Hmm.
Senegal and then come out today, and although he didn't get on the score sheet, um, you like exactly like you're saying, he kind of seems like he has a little flair to him, a little bit
Yeah.
of hunger. He's
Yeah.
always going to be that guy when teams play the United States. They see Christian Pulisic and they
Hmm.
know he's the LeBron of soccer or whatever everybody
Hmm.
says, which obviously is a little heavy handed. But I think exactly what you said. They know that they need to put on a show. I think we have some
Hmm.
players that want to put on a show.
Hmm.
I do wish that Tyler Adams was wearing the armband and not Tim Ream, but if they think that it really comes down to, was Tim Ream going to start, yes or no? And Poach thinks
Hmm.
yes. And if
Hmm.
Tim Ream is starting, he has to be the captain.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just one of those things. But anyways, let's get into I guess there weren't too many snubs on the roster. There were a few
Hmm.
roster surprises for me.
Hmm.
One guy I was very excited to see made the roster was Alex Zendejas,
Yeah.
from Club America,
Hmm.
and he's just a fun winger with an electric left foot. But
Hmm.
really, the one guy I wanted to highlight that didn't make it was Tanner Tessman, who
Yeah.
the midfielder um, out of Lyon in He plays in the Europe in the French League One,
Hmm.
and he's one of those guys who is a super physical, wide, just physically wide
Hmm.
central midfielder who
Hmm.
had also dropped into a center back role with Lyon, and it's just he was the one guy that I really thought was going to make it, and they took a lot of defenders. I
Hmm.
thought that maybe a Mark McKenzie wouldn't have made it in favor of Tanner Tessman, but he was the
Hmm.
one guy who I thought was going to make it because he's so versatile in the game that he
Hmm.
brings. He's played Champions League football, but
Yep.
yeah, I wanted to open it up to you. What do you think? Are there any guys that you're most for looking forward to watching on the United States team?
Yeah. Well, as far as snubs go, I was kind of surprised by no Diego Luna. I mean, one, he was the face of a lot of the Nike promotional ads, face of a lot of the USA ads. Everywhere you go in Atlanta, there's a ton of Diego Luna signage in the Nike stores by the stadium. So as far as that goes, just being face of the team, that's tough. But two, I'm looking at today and I'm seeing a lot of changes, and I'm kind of okay with where we ended up. I think it was tough, um, but I think right now they're running into a form where okay, now I can see why some people came, some people didn't. Midfield depth, a little concerning. No Cardoso, obviously, with the injuries. That's my only place of worry. That and lack of depth in the goalie position. But I think from there, we'll be okay. As far as players looking forward to, McKinney. I think he's a wild card. He can play all over the field. Dynamic. He's aggressive. He's played overseas, Juventus, played in Italy. He's a star. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well he can do this summer. I think the World Cup is a place to really elevate your status as a soccer player.
Yeah,
I think this summer Weston McKinney does that and becomes even bigger.
yeah. No, I see Weston McKennie kind of in that. He's almost like the engine, I think, outside
Hmm.
of that will make this whole thing go.
Hmm.
Because while Tyler Adams is more of a deeper lying
Hmm.
midfielder, very aggressive at the same time, but um, the guys that are going to work box to box and turn possession from their own box to our attacking third. I think Weston McKennie is one of those guys that can really charge forward. I'm really intrigued by obviously his club form playing in as a true forward too.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to be really interesting. We have so many guys who can play so many different positions, and you even saw in the game against Senegal, you saw Serginho Dest, who is a true fullback for his
Yeah,
club, play at right wing and score a
yeah.
goal. So I just think it's that almost like I'm not going to say it's positionless football because it's still at the end of the day there is some structure to it. We don't
Hmm.
have enough I there's no world where you can call what the US plays total football because that would be such a disservice to Pep and it would
Hmm.
almost kind of be disrespectful.
No,
But
it would be very disrespectful.
yeah, but
I
it
think that versatility is important. Like having guys who can play all over the field, and who can kind of roam and mark and play box to box. That's what's going to be important. Um, when you play against some of these powerhouses, you get further along the side of the group stage. I think McKinney headlines that, like seeing Dest do that as well. That type of versatility for the USA is going to be very important.
yeah, and I'm curious to see from everything I've been hearing, it sounds like Matt Freeze is going to be the first choice goalkeeper. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be Matt Turner,
Mm-mm.
which is it's going to be interesting because Matt Freeze doesn't have a lot of exposure to big games. He hasn't played in a World Cup before, and Matt Turner obviously has, but he's kind of just had a bumpy road. He had to earn his way back in the MLS, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I love the handling of the goalkeeper situation because so much of being a good goalkeeper comes with your chemistry with your center backs and the ability to communicate and not having too
Mm-hmm.
many caps together with Tim
Mm-hmm.
Ream and then Chris Richards going down, who will hopefully be ready for the World Cup with an ankle injury. It'll that'll be one thing to watch.
Yeah.
And the playing the true three at the back that they played in the past
Mm-hmm.
couple of games that everybody's come to think with Dest and Anthony Robinson being true wingbacks, it's going to be something to note how much they concede in the group stage.
Yeah.
Obviously, it will be for the results of the game, but
Mm-hmm.
they've now allowed 11 goals. They've conceded 11 times in the last four matches. Um, it's too many. and especially against Senegal, they were exposed a little bit in
Yeah.
transition.
hmm I'm still not sold on Freeze. I think he's good, but I think that the goalie spot right now is my biggest concern. Um, I think today he played pretty well. He was out of position a little bit on the header. I think in Senegal he was a little bit off. So I'm hoping he starts to run to form more, but it's just tough. I don't think he is going to stand out, but I just hope he really makes sure to not make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, that's
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 going to be the big thing.
right. How I feel is it's almost great goalkeepers you don't notice too much
Yeah, yeah,
because they're always in position. They make the routine look routine.
mhm,
And obviously they're as long as your defense is defending the way they should be, there aren't too
mhm,
many opportunities for you have to make a spectacular save.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, well, if we can move on
Yeah.
to I'm just gonna roll through some guys I have written down here who around the tournament who missed rosters surprisingly.
mhm,
Then we can kind of just talk about some ideas and some thoughts as to why some of them didn't make it or why you'll miss watching them. So for most of the snubs, a lot of the big snubs were in England, and it makes
mhm,
sense. They have such a large
mhm,
player pool. Thomas Tuchel is
mhm,
um, really trying to reinvent the culture for the Three Lions. So they've had a lot of missing players. So I'll run through some for England. So we have Harry Maguire from Manchester United. We have Trent Alexander-Arnold from Real Madrid.
mhm,
We have Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest. We have Cole Palmer for Chelsea. We have Phil Foden from City. We have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who had a career year at Leeds, and we have
mhm,
Jared Bowen from West Ham United, who most of them, especially Cole Palmer, Trent, Harry Maguire, and Jared Bowen, have had multiple caps with the
mhm,
senior team, especially Cole Palmer and Phil Foden.
mhm.
And Harry Maguire played a big role in the last World Cup, but it's just shocking how deep some of these player pools are for those guys to not make the World Cup.
Yeah. And then when you look over in England and you see the guys who are not there, it's practically a starting 11 themselves. Two guys who I was not surprised, but this bit disappointed was Alexander Arnold. I think he is very creative, great in set pieces. But I do understand that Tuchel is looking to set a new culture here. And as you know, I'm a big Foden guy. I love Foden, and I'm actually kind of okay with him and Palmer not making it because for once they're relying on people who are in form and who are proven. Um, Unfortunately, Palmer and Foden had down years, and just because they've had a lot of caps in the past, not a lot of success. And so I really like that idea of saying, hey, you can't rest on your laurels. Just because you're a big name in England and you've played before, you can't play subpar soccer and still make the World Cup team. And that just shows how serious he is. And also, too, we're not playing any favorites. And that's what's scary about England this series. They're coming in as well saying, hey, we need to win and we need to win now. And that's what Tuchel's doing.
Yep, yeah, I see a lot of a lot of good out of this. Like you were
Mm-hmm,
saying, there has to be a standard that the English national team's held to. They
mm-hmm,
haven't won the World Cup in however long it's been, and they like you were saying, like Cole Palmer was fought through injury for most of the
mm-hmm,
season, and if he's not going to be in his best form, and there's
mm-hmm,
someone else that just isn't named Cole Palmer who's playing better football than him, then he deserves to make the roster over him. And it's just unfortunate because obviously Cole Palmer is one of the most creative players in the world, but
mm-hmm,
there comes a point in time where you have to put the team first. And I mean, it
mm-hmm,
sounds crazy, but um, he just must have been. I mean, Thomas Tuchel has a job to do. It's probably one of the most or the least forgiving jobs in the world is being the head coach of the English national team
mm-hmm,
because they demand such great success. So it'll be extremely interesting to watch. Some
yeah,
more names that missed. Um, in Brazil, one of the biggest snubs that is also a Premier League player is João Pedro,
mm-hmm,
who missed out despite being in such great form. And it's a tough situation because this is a a Brazilian national team that needs to get back to the mountaintop soon. They haven't won the World Cup in
mm-hmm,
a little while, but
mm-hmm,
also just they've had a lot of drama in this cycle. Their federation had some changes in presidents, but João Pedro, from this the what it seems like is there are two players. One who I'm really looking forward to watching is Ryan, who's a 19-year-old winger from Bournemouth.
Hmm.
Had 5 goals in 15 matches in the Premier
Yeah.
League, but he's pretty electric. But it's most likely that Neymar would have been the guy dropped for João
Yeah.
Pedro,
Yeah.
and I just don't think there's a world where there can't be a Brazilian national team without Neymar as long as he is in
Yeah.
any shape or form.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that last spot came down to those two guys. And I think Neymar is the prince of Brazil, the face of Brazilian soccer of this generation, probably top three player of the 21st century after Messi and Ronaldo in my book. So if he's healthy, he has to go. And that's how it is. And I think in those other countries where they respect legends, they respect soccer, it makes sense. And, it's going to hurt, but your spot is given to the best player of your country for the last 25 years. Um, my question is how much will Neymar be able to contribute? Still coming off an injury. I didn't play in the friendly. I want to know how much he'll play. But at the end of the day, if Neymar is available as a Brazilian team in its country, you have to give him a spot. He's earned it and he deserves it.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'll be a 90-minute player at any point.
No.
I think it would be kind of cruel to ask that of Neymar. But like you were saying, this is a legend
Hmm.
who, in our lifetimes at least, you associate if you see that jersey, that yellow jersey, the one
Hmm.
person you think of is Neymar.
Yeah.
And I think like you're saying, it's a respect thing. You need to keep it that way. And I'm very happy for him that it happened.
Hmm.
I feel for João Pedro because he put in a great year.
Yeah.
I think it may have been 15 goals
He had 20 this year.
in all comps. Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
20 goals in all comps.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, he was really doing it, and it's just a shame because they're going to be just like in England. There, Brazil is another one of those countries
Yeah.
where the talent pool is so deep that someone
Hmm.
is going to get left out that probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So then
Hmm.
we move over to France.
Hmm.
Eduardo Camavinga doesn't make it, which
Yeah.
that was really noteworthy to me. I'll just
Hmm.
list off a few more, then we can talk about him. In the Netherlands, Jeremy Frimpong was left off after it seemed like he was very comfortable that he was going to make the squad, and then over in Spain. For the first time in however long, no Real Madrid players
Yeah.
have been selected, and Dean Huijsen and Danny Carvajal both missed the World Cup rosters.
Hmm. Well, starting with Camavinga, just big down year for him. Didn't play great. Injuries. I watched a few of his games this year. He just didn't seem the same. Bounced in and out of the lineup. Wasn't playing 90 minutes when he came on. Didn't do a lot. And it was also a lot of rash play as well. A lot of yellow cards. He got sent off. In I think one of the biggest games of the year when we got the two yellows in the second half. It happens. It stinks, but I think Camavinga just they deserve it, honestly. And France is so deep. I think a lot of soccer fans too recognize kind of the flashier names and think that they should just be on the roster, and that's not how it goes. Like what you said earlier, it's a very thankless job. As a manager, you need to make decisions for the program and for the team, not the guys who are known by the world or who have the most followers on Instagram. It's the guys who have shown up all day for the past year and been great. Um, I think that's the shit that we're seeing now with soccer is before people get on teams because of their own merit.
Mm.
And now it's thing of either you perform or you don't. Because it's teams who haven't won in years are like, we got to get going. We need to win. And so I think this thing with Kamavinga, if he had a better year, he would have been on the roster. But unfortunately, he bounced in and out of the lineup. He was injured. When he was in the lineup, he didn't play that great. So it's definitely disappointing. But I think it either makes you a better player or it can ruin your career. It's up to Kamavinga to decide what to do with that.
Yeah, and especially at places like Real Madrid, I guess we don't
Mhm.
notice this as much because it obviously it's only every 4 years that there's a World Cup. But in on a club like Real Madrid, if you're Eduardo Camavinga and you're not in form, you're not going to start
No.
because you have the Chouameni's and you have the Jude Bellinghams and just a squad that is worth nearly $1 billion, if not $1 billion,
Mhm.
in market value. And it's the same exact thing. If you're not pumping out results, then you're not going to be in the lineup because
Yeah,
they finished second or third in La Liga this year. I believe it was they still finished second, but it was a down year, and because they expect greatness at Real Madrid, and
yeah,
they got knocked out of the Champions League pretty early for their standards again.
yeah.
But yeah,
And
it's
that was also when they lost to Bayern, which is the game he had the two yellow cards. He came on in like the 70th minute, got two yellows in 15 minutes, and rest that was it.
yeah,
So he played for Real Madrid. If you don't play well, there will be thousands of other guys who could take your spot. And I think Manu Kone for Inter Milan had a great year. And so Kamavinga being bad this year opened the door for him to get
mhm,
to the first national team. So unfortunate. He's 23. I don't think he was on the national team last World Cup, but then he came on as like a sub in the finals. But it, he needs to get back on track. As a 23-year-old, it's kind of the time to start stringing together a lot of good games going to next
100%.
season.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
yeah. So then we can move into our next segment. I'm gonna run through. We can run through a few players we're most excited to watch.
Mhm,
Um, so I'll go ahead and lead us
mhm,
off. I'll give you my top five. So my top five from number five. At number five, I have Igor Thiago,
mhm,
the striker, the center forward from Brentford for Brazil.
mhm,
Not surprisingly, but well deservingly making the roster. At number four, I have Tyler Adams.
mhm,
At number three, I have Lamine Yamal.
mhm.
At number two, I have Luka Modric. And at number one, um, after I talked about him a lot, I know this is not many people may have him at the top, but Ryan is my number one player I'm most excited to watch.
Mhm, mhm. For me, I didn't rank them, but I just have a few names down. One, Jeremy Doku. Why I say this, you know this. We went and saw the USA Belgium game a few months back. Um, he was extremely dominant for Belgium. Pairing him with KDB, the way their offense ran was beautiful. He's a nightmare matchup, great pace, has the freedom to roam on that Belgium team, loves going down the flank, cutting inward. Him and KDB play off each other amazingly. I think he had a good year this year, better year. He's starting to look a lot more creative too, which is important. He's playing with pace, so I'm excited to see him play. Um, Michael Olise, obviously trending name right now, but not we recognize his talent. We'll love to see how he fits in playing with a team of stars. You have Mbappe at that poacher spot at the top. Dembele, who probably will be back-to-back Ballon d'Or winner. So wanting to see how Olise looks. What they're saying is he'll probably play more in the middle. So wanting to see how he distributes, how he plays when he's not on the wing. And that could be kind of interesting. I think this is common too with World Cups. You have so many stars knowing so many spots. So somebody's going to play out position a little bit and kind of distribute more instead of shooting. So let's see how he plays when he's not able to run the flank and cut inwards, when he's playing a very central position and is really trying to front of the ball to Mbappe, who is one of the greatest players of our generation right now. Nico Paz, Argentina, wonder kid, plays for Como. He's amazing. Argentina national team is very high on him. I think anytime you can play with Messi at a young age and be a star, it's great for development. So would love to see him play this summer, and think he'll be great. Desiree Doué, France again, young player, and will be a great depth piece for France. I'd love to see him as well. I'm just interested in seeing how this France team coexists. And they're friendly. I think it was yesterday. They were or 2 days ago. They looked okay, not great, but it just interested to see how all these pieces can kind of fit together and make sure they work. And then finally, maybe player for the Ivory Coast, Jan Diomande,
Mm.
19, RB Leipzig, a stud. Um, love to see him
Could be
play.
a Scouser soon. Could be headed to Liverpool.
Yep, Liverpool is in the talks right now. It seems like the classic story. We had that young player who blows up at a World Cup at the national level for his country. I think players always play hard for their countries. So excited to see what he does when he's here. Liverpool's talking about 150 mil for him right now, and that number would only go up if he
Yeah,
has a great
let me
World
see
Cup.
what his let me see what his transfer market value is. They just updated
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, 20 goals this year, only 19 years old, playing for the Ivory Coast. I think he'll run wild
yeah,
this summer.
$90 million market value, which is
Yeah.
obviously before the the price and the almost the
Mhm,
tax that clubs charge for poaching talent
mhm,
like that from those big clubs. But yeah, I guess so for me, my top five, it's a little bit interesting because I included um Luka Modric, who
mhm,
Croatia is just after going on a couple great runs in Euros and the last World
mhm,
Cup.
mhm.
This is more than likely his last World Cup.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be really fun to watch what he has left because, like you were saying, guys play so hard for their country, especially in this
Mhm,
sport, that
mhm.
it's gonna be a thrill to watch
Yeah.
him one more time and just be a midfield magician again. Ryan, if you're if those listening are unfamiliar, go look him up on YouTube because some of these goals that he scored in his time in Bournemouth, he's kind of the epitome of the wonder feet that Brazilians
Mhm,
have
mhm,
and having the ball in a string because the way he can almost it's like manipulate the space between him and the defenders
mhm,
with the ball just like I said seemingly on a string. It's a thrill. He's pacey, he's aggressive, he seems fearless.
mhm.
It's hard to make an impact in the Premier League at such a young age if you're not fearless. Um, yeah, Lamine Yamal, obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm gonna have the opportunity to see him in
Mhm.
Atlanta, which is gonna be unbelievable. One of the most dynamic players in the world, who will be the one of the next greatest players of our
Mhm.
generation, if he
Mhm.
isn't already. And then Igor Thiago, I think it's a wonderful thing when he was selected to the national team for Brazil for this World
Mhm.
Cup cycle. There's a video that came out of him and his family, and it was really touching for that guy who kind of had an unorthodox path. How many times has a Brentford striker been the number nine for the Brazilian national team? The answer is zero times, and it's something really cool, and I think the guy deserves it, and
Mhm.
I hope that his play reflects the form that he was in at Brentford this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those are some players that we're both looking forward to. We can get into our predictions for we're gonna go through our golden ball, golden boot, golden glove, and a winner. And then I got one more supplementary question we can get to after, but I'll let Kof, I'll let you take it away for we can go through golden ball first. Who's gonna score the most goals? Or the who's gonna be the best player of the tournament, excuse me.
Well, I think the golden ball, golden boot will start to be a little bit more interchangeable, especially as people get deeper in the tournament. I think the trendy pick obviously is Jamal. He'll benefit from a great Spain team. I think he was spectacular this year. He is definitely in form. Injury looks to be light. Looks to be getting back a lot healthier. Saw a training video of him yesterday. He looks a lot more explosive. Looks better. Uh, Mbappe, of course, I had the privilege of this like 2022 watching that World Cup hat trick in the finals was a big moment of my soccer watching career and being able to watch that game and see how transcendent he was. He was speaking a few days ago about he hasn't watched that game ever after it happened. He said he refused to look back at it. I think he's driven. I think he went to Madrid 2 years ago, hasn't won anything. I think getting booed at Real Madrid a few weeks ago in the home game. I think all those things are kind of lining up for him to be explosive this summer. They're going to play through him a lot. He has 12 goals and 14 World Cup appearances.
Mm.
I think when there's a guy who plays the best at this level, it's Mbappe. Um, and that's really those two guys I think are going to be the runaway horses for Golden Ball.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, um, and this is a little foreshadowing of my prediction for the
Mhm,
winner, but I have my golden ball going to Bruno Fernandes.
mhm,
He broke the record for most assists in a Premier League season this
mhm,
year, and I I just think he's in the best form of his life right now. And he's one of those players coming from a club the size of Manchester United. There are already
Mhm.
expectations that are through
Mhm.
the roof. He knows what it's like to play under pressure. It's probably his third World Cup. I would have to fact check that by now, at least. But he has just been dynamic all season.
Mhm.
And if and I'm looking at a Portuguese team that's ready to take that next step and take and go for a run, and potentially hoist the trophy. And I think
Mhm.
if they're going to do this, it is going to be because of their midfield, and the motor of their midfield is Bruno
Mhm.
Fernandes. Um,
And he scored today.
did
Scored today
he?
in the friendly. Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I wrote this down about a week ago, and now that it seems to be my prediction seems to be getting better. He's coming into
Hmm.
better form. So then I'll run right into my golden boot, and then we can hear yours for your official prediction. My golden boot prediction is going to be Julian Alvarez. It's a guy who is going to thrive off of having Lionel Messi, who
Hmm.
I'm expecting to play in more of a central role now
Yeah.
for Argentina, and um, be more of a facilitator. Obviously, he's still going to score goals. He's their penalty taker. He finds space in the box and is just so dynamic still at
Mhm.
37 or 38 years old. And I think that Julian Alvarez, who had a great season at Atletico, is
Mhm.
a great striker of the football, and a guy
Mhm.
who I think is going to be um, moved for a lot of money this summer at some point. He's going to be my golden boot
Mhm.
prediction.
That's great. I like that talk about Messi as well, where he'll play this summer. I think that's like going to line up perfectly and let him be able to prolong his minutes. Because 90 is going to be tough day in day out. But if they can get him to a good 80, where he's healthy and consistent, they'll be fine. And a lot of that will go through Alvarez. I think for me, Golden Boot, two things I look for is guys who are that classic striker, classic poacher, guys who are in the box, strong, physical, and then guys whose team are going to go pretty deep in the tournament. More games, more chances to score goals. First, I was thinking Holland. Norway's in the tournament, and he's about as classic as they get. And with Odegaard being there as well for Norway, playing through Holland in the box. But I just don't know how far they're going to go, honestly. I would say Harry Kane, 6, 7 goals this year, dynamic. He won the European Golden Shoe 2 years in a row. Um, so on form right now. They're going to play through him a lot, especially in the box. Tuchel's he's very defensive, and this formation will be very defensive. But I think when they get to the box, a lot of that will go through Kane, um, and has proven so many times he can put the ball in the back of the net. I think Harry Kane runs away with it. I would say Mbappe, but I really think Harry Kane's in a spot right now where he's very locked in. Um, if that happens, then England will go far, and we'll see if the Three Lions can bring it home.
Yeah, I love that pick, and despite the Bundesliga being a much less physical
Mhm.
league than the Premier League, I think that you can. It wouldn't be crazy to say that Harry Kane could be in the best form of his life right now, and that's saying
Yeah.
something for a player of his caliber. He's turned himself into he's much more of, not that he wasn't a presence centrally, obviously he always has been, but he seems like he's taken on more of a leadership role.
Yeah.
And obviously he was that at Tottenham, but I think it's what comes with being a vet in
Mhm.
anything, is that you earn the respect of your peers through time and people listen. And he's a guy that you will never have to question his attitude, and
Mhm.
that, especially with Kylian Mbappe recently, that's something that you can't take for granted with some of these players that are
Yeah.
making so much money
Mhm.
over and over again. So, did you have a Golden Glove prediction?
Yeah. I got
Yeah, t-
two options.
yeah, talk to me.
Dude, I'm a big A. Martinez fan. Debu, I mean, his performance last World Cup, amazing. He's been okay this year, still great, but I think that he's one of those guys that would lay his life down for Argentina, and more importantly, look at that team. He'll lay his life down for Messi. Um, he saw in 2022, players do whatever it takes for Messi. I think he has the experience. He had a great performance last time. He already said if he wins the game this year, he's retiring the day after.
Mm,
Um, then two, Unai Simon for Spain. Great defense, not a lot of chances. I could really see him putting on a show for Spain. I think he's an amazing goalie. And the goalie room they even have at Spain, for you to be the starter there, it means you're probably one of the best.
mm.
They have David Raya, Raya, and Juan Garcia. So you have three great goalies. And if you're the starter on the Spain team, that means you're one of the best.
Mm.
So those two are my pick for the Golden Glove. What do you
Okay.
got?
Yeah, so for me again, it's kind of piggybacking on my Golden Glove, and then I'll get right into my winner. We can bounce over to who you like
Mm-hmm,
winning the tournament. So my Golden Glove is going to go to Diogo Costa of Portugal,
mm-hmm,
and Portugal is the team that I'm picking to win the
yeah,
tournament. I just through and through, you kind of see, um, the most outstanding player and the Golden Glove going to obviously the some players on the winning team, but I think that Diogo Costa is also just a world class goalkeeper
yeah,
at Porto and is going to be the beneficiary of a great defense
mm-hmm,
and a very forward attacking minded club, but that one that is also athletic enough and well rounded
yeah,
enough to not get exposed in transition. So I do think Portugal is going to win. I like how their attack operates. I think that Ronaldo is going to be asked to do less, much less finally.
mm-hmm,
They João Neves coming in the
mm-hmm,
midfield is going to be huge. Rafael Leao, hopefully he doesn't get like suspended or something because he got through a
yeah,
punch in a friendly. So I just hope that's not the case. But Nuno Mendes, you can go. The list goes on of the great Portuguese players, and they're also a club or a nation that their national team plays together,
mm-hmm,
and one that I think is capable of winning the whole
mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That was one of my options, but I think I'm gonna go with Spain. Um, you have one of the best players in the world, Lamine Yamal, Pedri and Rodri in the midfield. Insane. Pedri's so in form right now. Danny Olmo. They won the Euro 2024. They have depth. They have a great system. Like I really think Spain's in a great place right now to win the tournament if it all comes together. And I love the way that they play soccer as a unit. They don't have to rely on one guy. I think that can happen with stars and happen with Yamal a little bit with Barcelona. You have to rely on one guy. You try to get the ball to him in space and make him something out of nothing. And I think with Spain, you don't have to do that. You have people in the midfield who are amazing. I think Rodri's amazing. He's a little bit older. I think Pedri had a great year. So that unit, those three in particular, are really going to thrive in Spain's system and drive them to a win. So I'm picking Spain.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's not a bad pick. I like you said, Portugal is almost your pick.
Hmm.
Spain was also my pick. I mean, it's tough to bet against them. They're
Hmm.
so well rounded, and I think they're capable. I mean, there's so many capable teams in this tournament. So,
I think there are like seven teams that we could have said today that you're like
mm.
that makes sense that they could win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
can't go wrong.
the team, this is just thinking about it. I've always been a big fan of how they play,
Hmm.
and especially their fans and how
Hmm.
electric they are. But I really want to see the Netherlands go on a run.
Yeah.
They're pretty electric to watch. Everyone wearing the orange.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm just I like Memphis Depay. I think
Yeah.
he's pretty fun to watch. So
Swaggy
that
guy.
would be that would be. I don't know. Do you have anyone that comes to mind for kind of like a dark horse candidate that you could see going on a run, kind of like a Morocco in the last World Cup?
Dude, I think I'm a big Morocco fan. Love Hakimi. So while we're there, this is may go into your next question, but I can see Mexico doing pretty well. You're playing at home. Um, they're sneaky getting into form.
Yeah, and they have the like you're saying, playing at home goes.
Yeah.
I think that's huge for them because of their kind of that fighter's mentality, and
Mhm.
um, I think Mexico having such. I know
Mhm.
it's there's probably no little to no correlation in any way, but the the cultural them having boxing be one of the biggest sports in their country.
Mhm.
Greats Canelo Alvarez first comes to
Yeah.
mind. Having great fighters. Some UFC fighters from Mexico now are making
Mhm.
names for themselves. Raul Rojas. But you see that kind of fighting spirit
Mhm.
in their national team for
Yeah.
football. But so yeah, so leading in our last question, so we can get out of here. In the nature of time, don't want to keep you too long, but we. So my question to you, seemingly have our answer, but I want you to go in a little more detail and give your a little more thoughts. Who advances the furthest in the tournament out of the three host countries, the U.S., Mexico, or Canada?
Yeah. Um, I thought about this question a few weeks ago, and I was kind of getting sold on Mexico, home field advantage, pride of your country. Um, Altitude in Mexico City, I think, is going to be a big portion. You have almost 100,000 fans in a city that are going insane for every game. But I think now, USA in form. I like what I'm seeing. I think with these friendlies, the results don't matter as much as the process. And right now, the process looks really good. Like a 2-1 loss to me is okay because 3 months ago, 4 months ago, they were losing 5-1 to Belgium and look completely outmatched. So I think we're starting to see them run into shape and we're starting to see a unit really gel. So for me, USA, I'm okay with their group. I think they'll be okay to make it off the group and then go on a run. I think Mexico, my problem is they sometimes can struggle and underperform in big tournaments. They didn't make it out the group stage in 2022, which was insane to think at the time. So I would say right now, USA is rounding into form. That's my opinion. What do you
Okay.
got?
Yeah, so I would also go with the United States, but
Yeah.
it's it's tough because I think all three of these nations, obviously Mexico has a rich history in football.
Hmm.
Canada is really starting to develop players and kind of create their own culture up there. Um, and build something very special. I think they're a really fun team to watch. A lot of energy, a lot of pace, a lot of
Hmm.
youth. But
Hmm.
Alfonso Davies not being fully fit, he'll play in the first match. I think he
Yeah.
said, but he's not going to be
Mhm.
good for 90 minutes. I think that's going to hinder them. Um, and looking at the groups. Mexico has South Korea in their group. I think it comes down to which team do I think has more of a capability to finish first in their group and set up for a better
Mhm.
draw in the knockout stages.
Mhm.
And I like the United States chances to beat out Turkey more than I like Mexico's chance to beat out South Korea for the top spot
Mhm.
in the group. And like you
Mhm.
were saying, the U.S. it's really shocked me because they had such a tough international window
Mhm.
um, against Portugal and against Belgium, and then prior to
Yeah.
that against Switzerland and
Mhm.
Turkey. Um, but these last two games against Senegal and Germany have really been impressive. It looks like they have this this fearlessness that I haven't seen in a United States team in a while, and they don't look like they're getting away from what they want to do just
Mhm.
because they're playing Germany or just because they're playing Senegal. They're attacking, they're staying on the front foot. I hope it
Mhm.
doesn't come back to bite them like we talked about with their
Yeah.
transition being tough with the back three at times.
Yeah.
But they, in my opinion, have the capability to go the furthest. I think we could see them getting into the round of 16.
Mhm.
The what I think needs to really happen if we want to see, although it is has been growing exponentially in the United States, if we really want to see soccer grow. And if these guys want to leave their legacy, this it was supposed to be the golden generation.
Mhm.
If they can get to the quarterfinals, that would change the outlook of U.S. soccer, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. I was reading an article a few days ago about a team in like 1999, 2000, and how even though they made it out the group stage, they lost to Brazil, but they just changed the whole dynamic because people really woke up. I think winning opens a lot of eyes, and the USA has a chance to do that this summer. If they can avoid Spain and France, they can really make a run if they break out the bracket the right way and get kind of deep into that tournament. let the heavyweights on the other side duke it out, they kind of get an easier draw. So I think what's the most important thing here is winning your group, um, and moving on from there. I think coming second place in that group will make it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I agree. And um yeah, I think that just about wraps up. You have
yeah,
anything else?
no, this is great, man. Thank you. Look forward to having you in Atlanta. Hopefully the city treats you right as you come for the
I know
game.
I'm pumped. I'm
Yeah, I
pumped.
look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, there will be plenty of content coming out from when I'm over at the World Cup in a couple of
Mhm.
weeks. Going to see Spain and Saudi Arabia, and also coming to the channel this or not the channel to the Instagram will be my top 25 players of the World Cup. I'll get that post out here soon. But again, thanks again, Kof. And yeah, I will see you all on the next episode of Pyramid Sports Network.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.